Hi there, I just wanted to get a quick word out there before we start the video proper. I realize this video is coming out late August when it probably should have been cancelled, and yeah, I did think about that. But because I'm still new to countdown making, I decided I'd rather finish this now and get as much feedback as possible, rather than start a new project that could take who knows how long with my current schedule. That's all I wanted to say, hope you enjoy the video. Oh yeah, I can totally get this done by the end of the month. God damn it. 2016. What an interesting year it was. I'll be honest, this year was probably better for me than most. I got a new job, I made some new friends, and the tiger and panda populations are growing, thank you, goddess of nature! Oh yeah, this list is supposed to be about video games. And boy, was it a great year in gaming. Game Freak celebrated 20 years of Pokemon, Blizzard won a bunch of people over with Overwatch and their new World of Warcraft expansion, Stardew Valley was a thing, and Pokemon Go was a major hit for about 2 months. Meanwhile, during all this, I'm stepping outside of my gaming comfort zone, trying out games I normally wouldn't and games I've been meaning to get to for quite a while. In fact, I played so many games that it felt like a crime not to talk about most of them, and that's why I bumped this from a top 10 to a top 20. I've got a lot to talk about, so let's not waste any more time. Time to go galactic. And you thought only filthy casuals played mobile games. All joking aside, I had a lot more fun with Framed than I originally thought I would. Sure, I was drawn in by its noir-style aesthetics, but I believed it'd just be a one-and-done kind of thing that I'd never look back to. But now I've played through the game multiple times at work as a time waster, and I don't really consider a time waster to automatically equal bad. It's an interactive story in the form of a puzzle game where you rearrange the patterns in order to change the outcome of the story. Sure, you could sit down, figure it out, and arrange the panels that way, but where's the fun in that? And that's all I've gotta say. Yeah, there's a story, but it's certainly clear that the main focus was for the puzzle gameplay and the jazzy beats. My first playthrough only took about an hour to complete, and that was including the 10 minutes of being stuck on one puzzle. But it is on here for a reason. You got $6 to spend? I recommend it. You might be surprised. Reset's Prescription Book of Memories Swain's Scale. Yes, that's the actual title of the game. Reset's Prescription is a 2D point-and-click adventure where you guide Reset and her partner Gdee as they venture into the mind of a young boy who has come down with a sleeping sickness, helping them solve puzzles so they can free him from his slumber. The developers tried to go for a storybook kind of feel with the game, with hand-drawn watercolor environments, and chibi-style characters that display quite a bit of emotion. And I love it. And I enjoyed the story, but because the sleeping sickness is caused by some deep-rooted subconscious trauma, I really don't want to spoil anything. However, I will say that each scene has its own music, making them stand out just a bit more. I do have some issues with the game though. I got stuck in the environments more than a few times. I feel it's a little overpriced for a 2-hour game with its regular price standing at 14 Canadian dollars. This ball physics puzzle feels less like a puzzle and more of a way of padding out the game. And without spoiling too much, the final boss really could have relied less on RNG. I question why there was a final boss in the first place. It's one of those games that has quite a bit of flaws in it, but I'm able to look past them and enjoy it for what it is. If this game interests you, then go ahead and buy it on Steam. But I'd wait for a price drop first. I've gotta admit, I find it sad I have to approach every Sonic game with some form of hesitation. I mean, if your first 4 games in the series only included one you'd like, you'd probably feel the same. But that was still one game in the series that I enjoyed, so I don't want to give up on the Blue Blur entirely. Okay, let's try this one. but some good speed. Sonic Unleashed easily sped its way to my second favorite Sonic game, just behind Generations. The long and the short of it is that Eggman awakened an evil creature that fragmented the planet, so Sonic and Chip have to restore the Chaos Emeralds to piece the Earth back together and seal Dark Gaia. Or Goma Vitra. It's nothing impressive, but it's still able to express the story it's trying to tell. And speaking of Chip, I like him. It's actually really entertaining to see him and Sonic on screen together as their friendship grows. The presentation is probably the strongest point of the game. Most of the levels are very well designed. The soundtrack is fantastic with the exception of the main battle theme, which seems to suffer from Seven Rings and Hand syndrome. And while I prefer the more cartoony graphics of Sonic Generations, the visuals here are still nice to look at. Seriously, if humans had to return to the Sonic universe, I'd like it if they used a similar art style. But of course it wouldn't be a Sonic game if we didn't go fast, and this is by far the most satisfying part of the game. Whether you're running down the Great Wall, over the water, or through the frozen tundra, it's incredibly enjoyable to speed right through the levels with all the pretty scenery to go with it. Now for the question most of you probably have on your minds. Did I enjoy the Werehog?
The answer is yes and no.
I like the beat-em-up style of the Werehog. Beating up enemies with a variety of combos is very entertaining, but the levels are so damn long! And that's not my only negative with the game. There was one point in the game where I needed somewhere over 10 sun medals to get to the next level, and some of these medals are out of the way of the main path. Banjo-Kazooie this isn't, and I really don't like it when games let you lose lives in the overworld. Yeah, nitpicky maybe, but I see it as a problem when I can die before entering the level proper. Most of the bosses are forgettable, drifting feels pointless because you're going so fast you'll never make it around those corners. Sonic sometimes doesn't have a drop shadow, and need I mention Eggman Land? Good luck with those hot dog missions. Being created in the RPG Maker engine, Helen's Mysterious Castle pays homage to classic RPGs with its 16-bit graphics, and Helen, our heroine. Not only is Helen the cliché amnesic silent protagonist, but this game decides to take it a step further. Look at this, she can't even read without being taught how to. Helen lives a simple life with her brother, but because she has no knowledge on who she is, she ventures to explore the maze-like castle of the floating island she lives on. And let me tell you, this is one of the hardest RPGs I've played in a while. It's not Dark Souls levels of hard, good god no. But when you screw up, that timer on the top of the screen is a reminder of just that. I think even the game is aware of how difficult it can be, because when you die, you return to the closest inn where a tasty lamb chop is waiting for you to eat and give you a permanent health increase. Helen's Mysterious Castle uses a one-on-one combat system, where both you and your foe have a different wait time depending on which weapon you're using, and you can switch between them at any time. You can find a large variety of swords which are decent all around, shields that can protect you from damage, bows which are fast but have low attack and defense, and magic which is very powerful but takes a long time to charge and leaves you completely defenseless. There's also passive equipment which can give you different effects in exchange for some inventory space. Really, your arsenal of weapons depends on your playstyle. Do you want the powerful Dragon Sword to deal tons of damage in just 12 seconds? Or the Flame Burge, which deals less damage in more time but has greater defense? It really is up to you, and because your experience is used to level up a weapon of your choice, you don't have to worry too much about ditching your favorite method of killing. Square Enix must have been a major inspiration for this game because the graphics and visual enemies made me think of Chrono Trigger through most of my playthrough, accompanied by a Final Fantasy-esque soundtrack. Not to mention the Demon King who rules over the Four Lords. My only real negative with the game is that death doesn't feel like a punishment. Sure, you have to make your way back to where you died, but you don't lose any XP, you don't lose any weapons with one very minor exception, and you'll get the before-mentioned health boost. The game is currently only $2.19 on Steam, which means that it's even less than that in US currency. So if you want to try the game for yourself, put aside your coffee money, sell some trading cards, or whatever, just give the game a try. I can almost guarantee you won't be disappointed. Last year, I got my hands on the Devil May Cry HD collection, a trilogy of classic hack and slashes that I've been meaning to get to for years. Devil May Cry 1 hasn't aged well in some places, but it's one of the first things that people think about when they think of 3D hack and slashes for a reason. Devil May Cry 3 expanded on the combat from the previous games, and we don't talk about DMC2. So with all 3 games under my belt, which one made the list? Neither! Bayonetta 2, everybody! Okay, seriously, it's Devil May Cry 3.
It's showtime.
DMC3 Dante's Awakening takes place years before the first game and focuses on Dante and his brother's pretty rocky relationship. There's also some plot of connecting the human and demon worlds together, but Dante seems to care more about settling his sibling rivalry so he can go home and eat more pizza. But he also loves the idea of hunting demons, and that's where the main appeal of this game comes in. Not only does Dante spout cheesy one-liners more than the average American action hero, but we've also got fast-paced and solid gameplay, making racking up those combos so satisfying. Also helped by the many different weapons you can obtain and switch between at any time, even mid-combo. And because the HD collection comes with the special edition of DMC3, you also have the option to play as Virgil, who has different cutscenes and is, if not, more fun to play as than Dante. And then there's the thing that made this game really stand out to me. The styles. DMC3 has a variety of different combat styles to suit everybody's fighting preference, with my 2 favorites being Trickster for more dodging techniques, and Quicksilver because I became a frickin' Time Lord. I can only count one time I got bored with the game, and that's just because I got lost. I don't think there's anything I can say about this game that hasn't been said already, but I'm glad I experienced it when I did. Post-apocalyptia, my old friend. Isolation and radiation. I could get lost in the ruined world for hours, and with no one around to bother me, I can just kick back and watch the rest of the world burn.
Today's weather excessively violent with a chance of dismemberment.
Wait, what? Oh god, no, 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 no! Ah! Okay, maybe the wasteland isn't for me after all. I discovered Sheltered back when it was still on Steam's Early Access, and at the risk of offending somebody, Early Access titles are something I avoid like the plague. I kept my eyes on this one, but I was in no hurry to buy it. One full release and a Steam sale later, and I lost a whole week's worth of vacation. Good god. The game has you taking care of a family of 5, 2 adults, 2 children, and a pet, helping them survive the apocalypse by maintaining the shelter and managing supplies, similar to a Sims title. That actually sounds weird now that I say that out loud. You can customize the family to your liking and even choose the family pet. This game even has some RPG elements with turn-based combat. Going up to the surface will expose you to radiation, meaning you'll need some form of protection should you go exploring or need to repair the water and air filters. Don't plan on leaving the bunker? Well, I hope you change your mind soon, because not only do you need food, you also need fuel for the generators to keep the filtration systems running. But wait, you can't go too far because you need to ration out your water between your exploration team and those staying in the bunker. Because not only is water essential to not die of dehydration, you also need it to shower, use the toilet, and clean the bunker. You don't want to do any of those? Well, if you don't, you run the risk of getting food poisoning, effectively wasting the food you just ate, and creating more of a mess to clean, because if you don't clean it, it'll attract rats that'll get into your food. There's the hard mode incarnated as the fish. Do you get where I'm going here? What I'm trying to say is this game is not for everyone. Dying and rebuilding the bunker can easily wear down on one's enjoyment. Not helped is the randomness of the game, making it so that your water can drain from a dust storm, causing you to die of dehydration before the first rainfall. I can only recommend this to people who like management games to begin with, so if you like what you see, then maybe you'll like playing it more. Well, I'm curious to see everyone's reaction to this. Lost Reavers is a game no one seems to talk about unless it's about how bad it is. And while I can understand people's problems with the game, I honestly don't think it's as bad as everyone's laying it on to be. I enjoy all of the characters' playstyles, third-person hack and slash, gunslinger, even the first-person shooter gameplay to some extent. The graphics, well, to each their own I guess, but every dungeon stands out to me in some way, and they look nice enough not to bore me. And God knows my love for RPGs has desensitized grinding for me. No joke, I used to put roughly 5 hours a day on this game with no sign of stopping. But as much as I like this game, it didn't make the top 10 for a reason. The bosses in this game are way too hard. I haven't even beaten one yet. Hacking 4 terminals in a room full of non-stop respawning enemies is really annoying, even with a party of 4. And oh my god, whatever you do, do not join a server unless it is in your region, or else you will experience collision detection and lag out the wazoo. If Sheltered wasn't a game for everyone, I guess this game's just for me. Last year, I had the pleasure of playing a little RPG called Yokai Watch, and I had a blast with it. I enjoyed its characters, the town of Springdale, and overall just building up my supernatural entourage. I got it as a Christmas gift in 2015, and even though I first played it in early 2016, there's one major reason why I'm not putting it on the list. It got a sequel. Yokai Watch 2 Bony Spirits was everything the first game was plus more, and I'm not just talking about the new yokai. They seem to have taken a few pointers from the TV show in the writing department, because boy does this feel like a Saturday morning cartoon. We have a total of 3 large cities you can explore, 2 of which you can visit 60 years in the past, and a much more interesting story with entertaining and relatable characters. The original battle system of yokai acting on their own hasn't changed, but thanks to your shiny new watch, you can perform new actions like poking a yokai to get bonuses, and Moxie Soultimates, which are basically more powerful Soultimates that use the soul gauge of the yokai using it and the 2 yokai adjacent to it. The writing is cheesy, full of puns, and has some toilet humor here and there, but I do like how it's not afraid to shift into darker tones. I know all the think of the children people out there won't take too kindly to it, but like it or not, some kids do have to deal with things like bullying, feeling weak, and death earlier than most. While Yokai Watch 2 expanded on the things I liked from the previous game, it seems that the problems I had weren't fixed. Most of the quests are still fetch quests, and because the world is so much bigger this time around, it drags on more than before. Not helped by the train you now have to ride at times. That shows every stop. All 18 of them. And befriending yokai still feels like a chore. Sure, the new poking mechanic can help, but it still feels as random as ever. If you have an interest with this series, then start with Yokai Watch 2. It's easy to get into, and you don't need to play the previous game to understand the story.
He can talk to the spirits, he doesn't have to fear it, and they're always gonna hear it, cause you know he's got a yokai watch.
I've had an interest in World War II history for as long as I can remember. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy games like Medal of Honor Frontline and films like Hearts War. So when I found a game reimagining World War II in a fantasy setting, I was pretty skeptical. But I took a chance and, well, I'm glad I did. So what's this game's story? Is the Führer taking over the world with dragons? If you legitimately thought that, then it's clear you and I both have problems. No, here the Atlantic Federation and the Empire are at war over a precious resource called Ragnite. And because Ragnite is used for fuel and medicine, neither one of these two powers are very keen on just giving it away. Because of this, the Empire invades the neutral country of Gala, which is very rich in Ragnite. And when the town of Brule is invaded, the main character Welkin Gunfer enrolls in Gallia's militia, putting him and the player in charge of Squad 7. Not only does each class have their own strengths and weaknesses, but each individual unit has their own potentials, both good and bad, meaning you really need to be careful on where your units are, especially when the Empire decides to spice things up, changing your objectives. So you'd better keep your weapons and armor up to date. Love this art style, by the way. It really feels like an interactive comic book. You select chapters from panels in book mode, it's got some nice watercolor aesthetics, and sounds like whoosh, crack, boom! words will pop out when certain actions are performed. If there's one thing I really need to applaud this game for, it's that the characters feel like actual people, rather than soldiers fighting a war just so the story can have, well, soldiers fight in a war, which is something I don't normally see unless it's for comedy.
Every time I felt like smiling, I jabbed myself in the stomach with a cattle prod. That ought to do it.
The game's also not afraid to go into war's deeper subjects, such as the consequences of war, racism, and the moral issues of both sides. For the latter especially, there's the fact that not everybody on the Imperial side is a complete monster, and not everybody fighting by your side are the definitive good guys. At the end of the day, every person is fighting for their own beliefs, and the true villain is in the eye of the observer.
The enemy's supply base is through these woods. Squad 7, move out!
Anyone who knows me even a little will know that I love a game with a good story. This list alone pretty much proves that. But sometimes I like to kick back, relax, and watch as a game completely satirizes itself. But surprisingly, I haven't found many games like this for RPGs, and really? RPGs have jokes you could easily poke fun at. Is it really that hard to make a game like this?
Why am I bright, like I've been splashed with fluorescent paint? I guess it's just my brilliance emanating from me! Just kidding.
Hello, beautiful, I think I'm in love. So here we have one of the many remakes of the Hyperdimension Neptunia games, a series I've been meaning to get to for a really long time now. Exploring the battle system from Victory, you're allowed to roam around the field hitting any enemy in range of your skills and weapons. With the latter you can perform combos to break their guard, deal massive damage, or rack up your combo to fill your EXE gauge and unleash pure, raw eye candy. Speaking of eye candy, the characters in this game are just great. Each have their own battle style, allowing for a large number of combinations to suit your playstyle, such as Blanc's high HP and defense for tankiness, and Mage's is high magic attack. But gameplay isn't the only reason why I love these girls so much. Each and every one of them has something unique to them that really makes them stand out, some more than others.
Please help me! Oh no, Compa! She's being censored and censored! I'm not being censored! I'm just off screen, Nep!
Oh, Neptune, don't ever change. The story itself is a parody on the console wars, just, you know, replace the consoles with anime girls. And because of this, it likes to make references to other games and the companies that make them while making fun of most video game cliches. Like the amnesiac hero and the "this isn't even my final boss form." But I think my favorite feature of the game has to be the remake system. To put it simply, by obtaining certain items, you can reprogram the game to your liking, allowing you to do things like disable back attacks, remove the damage cap, and so much more. I can, however, understand why some won't enjoy this game. As much as I love Neptune, she can get pretty annoying at times, not always knowing when to be more serious. Grinding can be a real pain, whether it's for levels, money, or items for plans. And then there's all the, how do I put this?
Oh, you know, fan service.
You're welcome, Internet. Overall, I think Hyperdimension Neptunia is a series that any gamer with a love for RPGs should give a try. Because personally, I can't wait to see what the sister generation has in store. Ah! Too much grain! Relax, I fixed it. I honestly don't know what I was thinking when I made this. So I guess this is the part where I'm supposed to recommend another video to you, but the problem with that is that the last proper video I made was 7 months ago, so I guess I'll just tell you where you can find me. Twitter is by far the place where I'm most active. You can find me at GalacticL because at GalacticLime was already taken. You'll know it when you see it. It's the one with my mascot? I guess he's my mascot now. Yeah, I also have a Tumblr, but I'm not as active there. At least it's convenient in case you don't want to create an account just to talk to me. So links for both of those will be in the description. Yeah, that's all I really use. Oh, and before you make any of your jokes, no part 2 will not take forever to go up. That'll be up on Friday, assuming I don't somehow get a 24-hour shift. And remember, don't be afraid to leave your feedback. I'd like to improve my videos as much as possible with what I have, and Lord knows that audio editing is my bane.